Hi, I'm Trond Larsen here at Blueye Robotics. I was a drone operator on our visit to the Nord Stream pipelines in the Baltic Sea, together with Expressen. So I will be going through some of the recordings we have and just using my own words describing what we see. So I'll just start the video. In the beginning here we can just see the drone going down. See from the timestamp it's 11:11. It's quite early right after we get out. I have the drone in the water and just going down. You can see the depth in the lower right corner is 25 meters. I know that we're going down to 75, 80 meters. As you can see here, we're coming down to the sea floor for the first time. The dive conditions was quite hard. You can see on the picture now it's milky. There's a lot of loose sediments on the sea floor. We had to keep the drone at a very specific altitude above the sea floor to not whirl up any more sediment. And we also had to keep it close enough to the sea floor that we could still see it. During the dive there was also quite a lot of movement. As you can see, the drone is moving a bit up and down. What I saw here was probably rebar from the concrete reinforcement around the pipe. We could see this in quite a large area. Over the last week we have managed to pull some more data from the drones using the DVL attached to the drone during the first dives. And we can see that there are rebar and signs of something happened on the sea floor for quite a bigger area than we first estimated. We have reason to believe there's at least an area of 100 times 50 meters that's impacted. We can find debris. But here you can see the sea floor, you see some rocks, sand, and we come over here, you see these trenches in the sea floor. There was quite a lot of these trenches. They are obvious from something related to what happened, the event at the pipe. But it's hard for us to say if this is due to an explosion, due to gas leak. When the gas runs out of the pipe, it needs to fill up with water. Some of these trenches can be dug out by the water being sucked into the pipes through holes in the pipes to fill up the vacuum after the gas. So it's hard to us to say exactly what it is, and the conditions of course made it more challenging. We had a hard time getting down into the trenches to get really high quality video. What we can see in some of these trenches is what, at least to me, appears to be part of the pipe, either the concrete or the steel construction. You will see shapes, like looks like it was bent around the pipe. And as we're getting closer to the end of the pipe, you can see a much bigger movements of the sea floor. You see bigger rocks, bigger sharp edges, and you also see more rebar wire on the photo. Here, because we can stay a bit higher up from the sea floor, we also get a bit better view, and that's why we can have better range on the visibility. But also you can see there's a lot of stones, rocks going here. What you can see in this trench is you see a layer a bit down in the trench, and my theory, based on my earlier experience from the University of Tromsø, is that when the gas was pumping up, it needs to refill the water. The water will be lifted towards the surface by the gas. You need to pull water from the areas around, and you will pull sediments in from the surrounding areas. And at least my theory is, after the gas stopped leaking out of the side pipes, you still had some sediments being dragged in, and that sediment and sand has filled up the trenches. So some places you can see the trenches seems like they've been dug out but filled up again, and I think that is sediments. Here you can also see on this picture, you can see structure down in the trench, which well, to my eyes would look like part of concrete or part of the pipe. But again, it was due to the condition. It was quite challenging to get down there, to get closer up for really getting the color out. From we came out to the location, we found signs of something happening on the sea floor, on the echo sounder on the boat, quite fast. It was hard to search, but after a good while we managed to find the pipe, and what we can see on the screen now is the first time I arrived at that pipe. So I found the rebar, I found the red color that is the coating inside the pipe. And for a few seconds I wasn't sure. I mean, this could still be a small boat wreck or something, but after not so many seconds you could really see the pipe. You can see it here in the background. And then when we found one end of the Nord Stream pipe. We can also see there's more rebar wire here sticking out, and that's how I could easily identify the rebar in other areas that it probably came from this pipe, from the concrete reinforcement. And you can also see the steel is bent here. You can see on the right side of the picture, you can really see a part of the pipe being bent down to the side. And you can also see on some images that that part is just going down into the sediments and sand, so it's hidden below mass sand and stone on the side. You can also see the pipe is bent at an upwards angle, but there are a lot of sediments around, and that is my theory due to the gas flowing up. We've dragged in sand and, around the pipe, and that way we built it up. Here you can see the outside of the same part, the first part I found. You can really see it going down and down into the sediments and disappearing under the sand. So how much of the pipe is under the sand and how much is somewhere else or removed, it's impossible for us to say. And you can also see big long stretches of rebar coming up, making it more challenging to operate the drone around the area. I all the time have to make sure I don't get stuck in this. This is 75 meters down, and I cannot scuba dive to that depth to get it out. On many commentary, as I've seen comments about how straight the edge is or what you can see on the edge, and from what you can see from some of these clips, if you stop them, is they are really just a straight edge for a small part. You can see part of the steel being ruffled edge, something being really sharp, bent in different directions. So for me to say anything about what has been used to make these cuts, it would be impossible for me, of course. But what I would like to say is you can see that the steel has been bent. There is no angle grinder signs on the edge of the steel, and it would be strange to me if say someone had bent this. The force of bending 45 millimeters of steel on that side is quite heavy, and it, at least to me, really looked like it had been torn off. And with the high pressure inside the pipes, it's not hard to understand that it could bend the pipe. Also, I've seen some comments that the pipe is bent up or down, and what you also have to think here is you're seeing it from different angle, and since the cut isn't straight, it might appear bent up and down, but you really have to fine-tune on the different areas to say. Here you can see in the page here, you can see the edge going straight down, but on the pipe is really it's not a straight cut, it's a angled cut, circular down. And that you can also see here. You see the cuts angling out, then straight for a bit, and then in again and down towards where the part has been broken down to the side. So when we're diving quite a bit in this area on the first dive, just getting as much photo as we could, but as I said, the condition was quite hard. And then later, when we had more control, we knew more what was in the area, we just took the drone straight into the pipe. The Blueye drone is only 38 centimeters tall, so with the diameter of the pipe being so large, we could really get the entire drone into the pipe. With discussions with the journalist, after a while we figured, okay, we have some material, we need to secure it, make sure we have it, and the easiest way to move it from the drone into a computer is taking a drone up. So we took the drone up, transferred all the video and the files from this drone to the computer, and we took one of the other Blueye X3s we had with us and went down again, repositioned the boat above the site and went down, and as you can see here, right away coming down to the bottom, we found rebar sticking out of the sea floor. For the first few times I was not sure if this could be wood, but I've gone over the recordings many times, and I assure you this is rebar similar to what is used in the concrete around the pipes. And this is a few meters away, so here we're getting closer to the end of the pipe that we filmed on the dive before. You can see really these pilings of sand and stone in the area, and it's not up to me to say how this was made, if this was made during the event or from the gas leak pumping sediments in, or if, say, the Swedish authorities had been here collecting evidence and shuffled around on this stone and sand. But you can see there's a lot of movement, and here you can see on the right side you can see a piece of metal, and to the best I could understand also from looking at the other photo, this is outside the steel core of the pipe. There's a thin layer of metal. It's my belief that this is that thin layer going around the steel itself before you get to the concrete. And this metal is still quite a bit off from the end of the pipe. Here you can also see how tall the walls are. Now we're back to the pipe, but you can really see the trenches and the ridges on the sea floor is up to several meters tall. And here we're back on the pipe, and here you can better see the end of the pipe going down into the sand and stone and filled up with sediments after it was put in that position. So we're driving in on the inside of that part and driving up towards the end of the pipe. As said, we know this is Nord Stream 1. We don't know which of the pipes. We're not quite sure in which direction we're looking. It appears a lot of the pipe and stuff in the area has been moved around. And then the golden view, the view from inside of Nord Stream 1 and straight out. It was a special clip for me to take. It's one of the clips I wanted. Was I proof that I'm inside the Nord Stream pipe with the drone, just to show that these small, easy to use drone actually can do this. We can go out with a small 29 feet vessel and just go 2 hours straight out into the ocean, 75 meters down, and actually dive inside something like this. Not everyone have an international gas pipe they need to inspect, but whatever you have, you need to inspect. You can actually go down there with this kind of technology. You don't need really big ROVs or dive teams to get just a visual clue. Here I turn around the drone and you can see my own cable going out the pipe. Yeah. Here the click stops. What we did, we just took the drone up. The weather was going for the worst quite fast. I think at the end up towards 1 meter wave height, and it makes it hard to operate, and it's a very good chance for Blueye to show what our equipment is capable of. So it meant a lot to me to be able to do it, and I was really happy that I managed to get these recordings. And again, I'm not a bomb expert and I'm not a politics expert. I don't want to comment on that. It's not our place. There's better people to do that. But the main thing is we got some pictures. I can guarantee this is the Nord Stream 1 pipe. As far as I know, we're still the only one who published video from this area, and maybe it can help more people understand why something like this is so difficult. Investigating an incident like this, you have so much forces, you have so big areas that's impacted, you have so much sand, you have so much sediment, you have low visibility, you have bad weather. It's not just going out there, look at the camera for 10 minutes and say, yeah, this is what happened. There's a lot more to it. I hope you enjoy this little talk. I'm trying to just leave it at my comments and what I can see, and then it's up to you to interpret what you see on the pictures.